and then I see an unread email from like 2 weeks ago. Oh, you were added to this playlist. And I was like, no. So I took a screenshot and I was like, oh, it's probably not there anymore. So I'll go on the playlist. It's not there anymore. It's gone. And I was like, oh, I missed my moment. But, I still had the email at least.
Yo, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
How are you, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you doing this.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Do you go by V,
Yeah, you can just call me V. Yeah.
or is it because it's V always here, right?
Yeah, that's the full name, but
Sure. Do you want me to call you the whole thing, or what do you
you can call
usually
me
go
V. You
by?
can call me V. That's totally fine.
Okay, cool, man. Well, I'm Adam, and I appreciate your time today. This is a podcast about you and your journey in music, and we'll talk about well, it's not an album or EP; it's a playlist, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
I love it. Cool, man. I was just listening to it. It's very it's you got so many different styles and genres in there.
Yes, I do, and that was kind of the point.
Okay. Yeah, I want to talk to you all about it. And I really love the last song. It's just like out of left field, you got this like rock pop punk song going on.
Yeah, I was trying to, I was trying to make it surprising.
Yeah, I love it, man. Oh, well, first off, talk to me. Where were you born and raised?
So I was born and raised in Russia, in Siberia. Actually, it's really cold, and yeah, I was born there and I was raised there and lived there for about 17 years, and then I moved to LA. Completely different world.
Oh my gosh, man. So born in Siberia. What was it like growing up there? I mean, you speak English so well. Was that tell me about learning English and just growing up there?
Yeah. Growing up there, I mean, honestly, when people ask me like how is it different and stuff like that, it's honestly it's not very different. Obviously, it's different from LA in terms of it's really cold there, or it gets really cold there.
Hmm.
Uh, and the language is different, but honestly, people are people, and people are all kind of different and kind of the same at the same time.
Hmm.
So yeah, it wasn't super different for me. But yeah, I did not grow up speaking English or anything like that. And when I realized I want to make music and I want to make music specifically in English, I had to learn. I had to learn. I had to, get myself to a point where I can compete with, everybody else in that sense, with people who were born and raised speaking English. So it took me a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of sleepless nights for sure. But I'm super grateful for that journey as well, and very passionate about English in general. I'm very grateful to the language for giving me everything that I have, and just allowing me to pursue my dream.
Hmm. Well, when were growing up in Russia, did you have English classes in school, or was it all you just learned Russian and then you kind of had to do that as your side, like, you know?
Yeah, I did have English class for sure. It started in like elementary school or something, but obviously, it wasn't anything serious. It wasn't very good to begin with.
Hmm.
And Yeah, and I mean, you're a kid, and they're making you learn a language in school. How much are you really gonna learn? So when I got a little older, actually, this about 14, I decided to take it seriously, and I went to like a little separate, ESL school, and it was all right, but it wasn't what I needed. So I had to do 90% of it on my own, and find the information and figure it out. So yeah, it wasn't the easiest thing to do, but you know at least now we know it's possible.
Right. I mean, from what I hear, it's like the most difficult language to learn anyway, because it's just it doesn't make as much sense as most languages.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, definitely, from a perspective of someone who had to learn the language, I can tell you that, yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense and there's not a whole lot
Mhm.
of logic in it. But, you know, English is not something that you speak from kind of like a logical place in terms of like grammar and everything. It's
Right.
language of, emotion and feelings and, that sort of thing. So it makes sense.
Hmm. What about it? At home? Do your parents speak English at all, or is it all you speak Russian?
No, we just spoke Russian. Russian
Wow.
language is the language of Russia, And a lot of people do learn English as a second language either in school or on their own. But the way the system works is it's not very good. First of all, it's mostly British, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's
Uh-huh.
just not necessarily what I wanted. And of course, it's very limited. It's very limited in terms of the teachers. It was very hard for me to find a good teacher or a tutor or something like that. So I kind of had to do it on my own.
Sure. What about music? How did you get into music? Do you come from a musical household?
I do not. I just decided to pursue stuff that wasn't in my family. You know, uh, I it was elementary school as well, and I came back from school. I think it was like second grade or something like that, and I turned the TV on, and I was like, "Oh, let me just chill for a little bit, and then I'll do my homework, whatever." And MTV was on somehow. That wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for some cartoons or something like that.
Mhm.
But MTV was on, and I just stayed there frozen for I don't even know how long. I was just so mesmerized by what I was seeing and what I was hearing. Back in the day when MTV used to play music videos back to back to back to back.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Those are the days, man.
and I was just sitting there, and I just loved it for some reason. I could not understand anything they were talking about, but I just loved the way it sounded. And obviously, I was old enough to know that it was English. So yeah, and I ended up just sitting there listening and watching for hours and hours. Didn't get any homework done or anything, and that's when I realized, I would love to be just like them. I would
Mhm.
love to do that, and for some reason, it just, it had an impact on me, even though I couldn't understand anything they were saying. It was something that music in Russian could never do for me for some reason. Just the way it flowed and the way everything sounded. You can really understand the emotion when you listen to it without necessarily listening to the words. So yeah, and that's kind of how it started. And I started kind of writing little songs. Obviously, I didn't know how to produce or didn't have any means to produce yet. And slowly I just started building on that. And obviously I didn't know English just yet, so it was just like gibberish that sounded like English, or maybe I would do it in Russian. And yeah, and then over time I just kind of leveled up and built on that. And one thing about me is, because when I started learning how to make music, I really wanted it to keep it private. It was
Mhm.
my hobby. It was for me only and just to myself. So, and that was the reason why I never told anyone about it. And therefore, I didn't really have anyone to collab with. So I had to learn how to do everything on my own, every step of the way. Produce it, write it, record it, mix it, get it to a level where, you can listen to that.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I started out rapping. I also didn't know how to sing. And then I was like, it'd be cool to have someone sing on my hook or something. But obviously, who am I gonna ask? So I was like, okay, let me learn how to sing real quick. So it was literally just me kind of having fun with it and making music and acquiring those skills as I went. Uh,
Kinda out of necessity,
yeah,
sounds like.
pretty much, yeah. I was like kind of unlocking new levels.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, as far as, like, inspiration and stuff and or live music, seeing stuff, like, were kids at your school or your peers, pursuing anything similar? Like, were there other kids rapping at your school, or were there people aside from maybe, like, a school orchestra or something like that, were there
We
other
didn't even have
creative.
that.
Oh, really?
We
Wow.
did not even have that. Let me just put my computer on do not disturb. Uh, yeah. I mean, there were a couple of kids that were like singing and stuff at like school events and all of that. But aside from that, no one really liked me, because they were kind of taking the traditional, more academic route with that,
Mhm,
and that was never me. I wasn't really learning how to do stuff, and I still don't do it that way. I don't like go if I say I want to learn how to do something, I don't do it properly. I open up a book or whatever. I kind of hack my way through it, and so that was kind of my thing. I was always self-taught in a lot of things, and so obviously those people and I never really clicked because they were too trained or too good.
mhm.
And but I was also kind of keeping it on the low as well because I didn't want to put myself in a situation where I was very embarrassed about it. I was very shy and insecure about my music too.
Hmm.
That's why I didn't start posting my music online until like 2018.
And that was when you're already in Los Angeles at this point?
Yeah, I moved to LA in
Okay.
2013.
Okay. So going through school and high school, were you learning when you were learning how to record, were you doing that when you were still living in Russia and you still were in high school and maybe prior to that you just had like all this music on your computer or something?
Yeah, I started in middle school and I was using my dad's laptop that he like got from work or whatever. And I was using one of those old school like white little Skype microphones that they were giving at work.
Oh, yeah.
That was my setup. That was my setup for a really long time. And then over time I was able to, get like a little dynamic microphone and then it just kind of, went from there.
Wow. Okay. And then how do you get to Los Angeles? What takes you to LA aside from music and the passion there?
Well, my parents wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer or, something like that. It had to be very academic and serious. So,
Okay.
like, okay, let me go to school then. I'm gonna go to school in the US. How about that? And they were like, okay, that works. That was a little compromise. They weren't super crazy about the idea, of course.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
not close.
had to, yeah, so I had to do a lot of stuff on my own again because our deal was like, okay, we're not gonna help you with anything. You started, you do whatever you have to do. If you're accepted, we'll let you go then. I had to get all those papers, translate everything, or sometimes even figure stuff out in the way that only I could. Let's put it that way.
Mhm. Was it always LA that you wanted to go to?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And had you ever been to the United States prior to that?
Never.
Okay.
I
So
was very
there it was
small
just this
and blind.
mythical land. Like, okay, I see this. I want to go to LA. Like, cause for me, it's like if I wanted to go to Siberia, Russia, and I wanted to go to school there, I don't even know how the hell they even begin that process. Like, was that just mad research on the computer?
A lot of research, yeah, a lot of research. I had to figure out what I needed. I had to figure out what tests I needed to take. I had to, put some money on my Skype account so I could call regular phone numbers. So if it
Oh, wow.
difference, I had to wait until like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. to call people to ask questions.
Oh, yeah, because it'd be like totally the time zones and
Yeah,
everything else. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. What time is it there? You're in LA. Forget it. Never
yeah, I'm in
mind.
LA,
Stupid
but
question.
I'll tell you right now, in my hometown, it's 8 p.m. right now, 12
Oh,
hours ahead
wow.
at the moment.
That's crazy. Crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
So,
it was a
yeah.
long process, definitely, and a lot of research, a lot of emails, phone calls, trial and error, and but I did it. At the end of the day, I presented everything to them, and I was like, okay, remember you said I can try, and if it works out, you let me go. So this is my acceptance letter right here.
And where did you end up going? Did you go to school out there in LA? Is that how you got
Yeah, I
through?
did. I did. I went
Okay.
to this school for performing arts. So
Oh,
I have a degree in performing arts and musical theater specifically.
interesting. So even though your parents wanted you to be a lawyer or a doctor, they would still, as long as you got everything taken care of and you were going to make it like basically saying, here's all the stuff I did, everything I need to go there. They didn't care what you were pursuing as long as you just had to do the work.
Yeah, as long as some kind of degree was involved, they were cool with it.
Okay.
You
That's
know,
cool.
yeah.
Were you into performing arts and musical theater when you were living in Russia?
Not at all.
Okay,
Not.
so how do you even get accepted into a college for that?
It was it was definitely a learning experience for sure, and it was a challenge. But my thought process behind it was, I can try acting and I can keep singing at the same
Mhm.
time. I want to keep singing, but I can also try acting and get into it and see, what it's like. And I don't necessarily want to pursue that, but it would be a useful tool for me anyway, just in general.
Sure.
So that was my thought process behind that, and it was so challenging. It was so difficult. I had to learn a whole lot about musical theater that I never knew before. And yeah, it's a completely different beast. I can't say that I'm a I'm passionate about performing in musical theater or something I want to do, but I definitely have a lot of respect for people that do because it's tough. It's very tough.
Mhm. So you get to LA. What was it like getting off the airplane the first time, or in just being like, oh my gosh, like I'm in Los Angeles. Like my dream was to come here.
I couldn't believe it. It was like I was like, "Oh, I feel I've lived through this moment 1,000 times already in my head." And I was like, "Okay, this is okay. This is okay." But I couldn't believe it was real. It was happening. And
Hmm.
because I was still 17, my dad had to come with me. I guess at the time I couldn't, fly internationally on my own or something like that because I wasn't 18.
Yeah, they probably don't want you just landing in the country as a minor. I mean, that kind of makes I get that, but sure,
So
go ahead.
yeah, and it was just weird. It was strange, and I couldn't believe it. And then we flew in a couple of days earlier just to kind of get used to the time and just to scope the area out and stuff. And then he had to leave, so I stayed in LA on my own 2 days before, like, the first day where I had to like go and see my dorm and move into my dorm and stuff like that. And then the day that I moved into my dorm and met my roommates and everything, I was like, wow, I feel like I'm home. Like I feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Like
That's
all the
cool.
weight has been lifted because there was this mystery always, maybe I'm lying to myself. What if this isn't right? What if it doesn't work? And that first day I was just like, I feel comfortable. I feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be. It was so weird, but a place I've never been to before. Um, but it just feels right. So
Mhm.
it was a magical moment for sure.
That's incredible. And then what you just start trying to work with once you get to LA and you're in college and learning like at what point do you get the courage to start putting your own music out or showing people your songs? Because it sounds like before that you didn't do that.
I used to post like little covers on YouTube and stuff like that. But when I first started doing that, I was very insecure about it, so I would post them and then delete them right away. So
Okay.
no one really saw them, or people that did see them, they saw them for a little bit. And then when I got to LA, I kept doing it for a little bit as well, but I wasn't too crazy about it either. I didn't feel like I was ready yet, and I still had a lot to learn in terms of being a music artist or an artist in general. So I just took the time to, you know, get my shit together. Also, uh, as a 17 or 18-year-old kid
Yeah, kid, yeah.
moving to a completely different country
In one of the
across
biggest
the world.
cities in America too.
Right.
Not only
First
that.
time on my own, I had to learn, how to do laundry, how to, put meals
Yeah,
together or
just
something.
live life, right.
Yeah, yeah. So, but also I was still working on music and stuff like that, obviously. And yeah, I was just kind of doing all of that behind the scenes, just getting better at it.
Mhm. And then you finally just got the courage to put one out? Like, what was the first song that you're like, "Okay, was it like, this is finally good enough, I feel like I could share with people," or, "Okay, let's just pull the Band-Aid off and do it," like, how did you end up finally releasing songs?
Yeah, it was kind of a combination of both. For me, the biggest thing was I was like, okay, I have the song. If I don't feel embarrassed about it in terms of playing it to other people, even if I really want to play it for other people, if that's how I feel, then I'm ready. So I was
Mhm,
waiting for that moment when I'm so, when I'm just so happy with the song that I made that I want to play it for other people. Because before it wasn't the case. I never wanted it. I never wanted to play my music to other people because I was just so embarrassed, so insecure about it. So yeah, the first time I felt that way, I knew it was right, and I dropped it, like on SoundCloud and stuff like that.
mhm. And then once it's out, it's just like, "Okay, now I finally jumped over that hurdle, like, I'm just gonna keep putting music out?"
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. Once I started, I posted my first song. I was like, okay, I think I got to do more now. I got to do more and get better. I had some kind of, it's out there in the open, so I felt like I had some kind of accountability there, even though no one was listening really. Still I just felt like it's such a big deal, and now these three people are going to be expecting music from me. So I was like, okay, now I have to actively release music.
Mhm. And what like, was there a song or something that kinda elevated it to the next level? I mean, I know you put a whole album out last year, right?
Yes, yes, I did that. But before that, 2019, I released a single called "Sober."
Mm-hmm.
That was that one that really connected. And Yeah, I got like an editorial Spotify playlist for the first time in my life. It was very, very exciting. But I missed that email too. So because
Oh, tell me
yeah,
about that.
I missed that email. So basically I was like, okay, cool. I checked my, analytics and stuff, and I'm like, okay, the streams are doing very well. Wow, amazing. And then I'm like, I was looking for something else, and I go on my Gmail and I type Spotify because I don't remember what I was looking for. And then I see an unread email from like 2 weeks ago. Oh, you were added to this playlist. And I was like, no. So I took a screenshot and I was like, oh, it's probably not there anymore. So I'll go on the playlist, it's not there anymore. It's gone. And I was like, oh, I missed my moment. But I still had the email at least.
That's yeah. At least you have the proof.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little obsessed. I was like, okay, let me make sure I keep an eye out for that.
That's cool, man. So then you have, well, I want to hear about this new playlist that you put together. You wrote, produce, mix everything yourself, right?
Yeah, I almost made it a point to make it so self-made, and even the cover art, I drew it on my iPad. I really wanted it to be
Wow.
DIY and bad looking in the way, in
But
terms
it
of
looks cool. It's kind of like it's got like that 90s-ish like vibe to me.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
So
artistically, not the
yeah,
songs, but yeah, artistically.
so I really wanted this like DIY type of vibe for the artwork. And yeah, I made it a point to, just to be able to say that, I did it. And that's the point of the title too, Ego.
Hmm.
I did it. All of it, everything that you see, I built it from nothing, So that's kind of a big thing about my music. I even though now obviously I have people to collab with and work with and co-write with, obviously. And while I love doing that, there's still something special about just going into the room on your own, starting with nothing, and then, at the end of the session, having built this entire world. It's a feeling that, not a lot of things can actually really compare to. So, definitely for this one, I really wanted to make it my fingerprint all throughout.
Yeah, and you call it a playlist because you say it's just something like it's not like a like everything's gonna kind of sound like this vein, right? I mean, there's a song it might be the first song or second song on the record. It has like violins in the beginning, and then you have a song with a ukulele, and then you have like this kind of pop punk rock song at the end. Like, were these songs that you were just kind of writing, and how are you pulling? Do you just listen to a bunch of music, or how are you pulling influences into all these songs?
Yeah, so I am calling it a playlist because I just don't see it as an album. Um and I didn't want to call it an album. I couldn't really call it an EP because it's too long. But I was like, as a consumer of music, my personal playlist is all over the place.
Hmm.
The way you just described my playlist, that's how my personal playlists are. It's just so random.
Hmm.
Could never even see those songs existing together anywhere, and that's how I listen to music. So that was kind of my project. Ego Playlist One reflects that. It's different, but it's not super different because it's still me. It's not that I went into all of those different genres. I was more kind of like bringing those genres to me.
Yeah, because it does, it all sounds like you. Like, I don't, I'm trying to make, I'm trying to not make it sound like it's just like randomly all over the place,
Yeah,
but like you can tell it's you and all the songs. I mean,
yeah,
the it still has that kind of like R&B undertoned like vocal, like your singing voice, and then obviously there's more elements that kind of go in there that add little different flavors to it. But yeah, it's just, it doesn't sound as much like a cohesive, like, okay, this is the general sound of the whole thing, and it's gonna sound like one project or
yeah.
whatever. It's like, and like, when did you start realizing it was kind of going that route? Was it like you wrote this song and it just felt a certain way, and then like Ego, for example, the last song on it, like, how do you go in this total direction of like kind of this rock pop song?
Well, that specifically was planned. That was like, I knew this is what I want. I want to make that specifically. For the rest of the songs, it was honestly just an accident. Honestly,
Okay.
that's all I can tell you. I when I approach writing a song, I kind of started backwards and I reverse engineer it. So I start with what do I want the listener to feel, and then once I have a clear idea of that, I do whatever I can to arrive at that. So that is sort of how I approach making music, and all of that was just an accident. And once the first song that was ready was Get Away, and then from that went into Other Side, and I was like, okay, those two are already kind of different. Let me just continue
Mhm.
with that. So I kind of had an idea in the back of my head. I was like, I could make them all different because I've never heard that before. And but I never I wasn't too focused on making them different or different genres.
Okay. Yeah, it just sounds so it was almost like you were just writing and then if whatever it felt, you just were like, "Oh, this is a cool song. I'm just gonna go with that." And then it just ended up becoming this playlist.
Pretty
You said the ego was an intentional one. Like, tell me, like, what's the story behind that one?
well, that was the last one also made as well for the album, for the project. And I already had these seven, and I was like, okay, now let's do something just completely different that is not on the project or something I've never done before. My goal was to really challenge myself as a producer, as a writer, as an artist. And as an artist, you can make two different types of songs. You can make your comfortable songs, that that's on brand and it's very effortless and easy for you. You don't feel any type of way about putting them out. It's very comfortable. And you make uncomfortable songs, songs that are not meant for anybody to hear. It's just for you to get better and try weird different things that you can learn from, and then bring them into your comfortable music. So the point of this project is it's 8 uncomfortable songs for me. I was just trying a whole bunch of new stuff that wasn't super comfortable for me. So and I was like, that is cool. That'd be cool to just put those together and release that. So yeah, I was just experimenting and really challenging myself in every aspect and every step of the way.
Yeah, I love that song, man. The whole album's awesome, but I think you really found something with that with that ego song, man. It's funny that you just kind of really wanted to challenge yourself, and your voice fits so rad in it. And it just not that the like again, not that the other ones aren't cool as well, but it was just like for me listening through it, I was like, oh wow, this is different. And then it kind of like really hooked me in.
Yeah.
So I just think it's what about I mean, you just released this thing last on Friday, right?
Mhm.
I mean, literally just came out. Like, do you have hundreds of other songs that you've been working on over the course of the years that you haven't put out yet?
Of course. Oh my God, I have a lot, a lot. So I'm probably gonna revisit some projects soon, because I already have some ideas for the second playlist. But yeah, yeah. But we'll wait and see for sure.
Oh, cool. So you're doing another you think you're gonna do another playlist then?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah, this is one thing that you've tapped into that I haven't I've interviewed a lot of artists and I've never heard and I've never seen even recently anyone doing a playlist. Like I just think it's such a hip, cool, untapped thing that you're doing. Like
Yeah,
there's mixtapes obviously, but I haven't
yeah.
seen anyone do a playlist like
There's
that.
mixtapes, there's collections, and I wanted something of that sort, but I just, I wanted something different. And it was just a no-brainer when I thought about it. When the first 3 songs were ready, I was like, wow, they're so different. And I was like, it's kind of like my personal playlist when I go to the gym, or when I'm in
Uh-huh.
traffic. I listen, one song, I could be listening to a trap song, and then the next song would be like a post-hardcore song, and then it could
Right.
go into pop and R&B, and it's just so different. And you could never, just opening my personal playlist, it could never tell that it belongs to one person. So
Mhm.
that was kind of, I was like, oh, cool playlist. I don't think I've ever heard that before. So I was like, let me just go with that.
I love it, man. Yeah, like I said, so unique. I haven't heard anyone do that yet either. Very, very awesome. And
Yeah.
do you have a bunch of pop vinyl back there? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, they're Funko Pops. Yeah.
Dude, I have so many of those. My wife is like obsessed too, but we got a million of them. I just noticed that. What do you got back there? What
I
ones do
just
you
I
have?
collect anime ones,
Cool. I
and I
love
always
it.
try to go for like the rare ones, because if you just if
The
you
chases.
yeah, all of those, yeah, because if you buy the common ones, you can really have like 1,000, 2,000 Funko Pops, and I have nowhere
That's
with that.
that's what I have, dude. I got like two giant like bins that are just full of ones that I'm like, gosh, like were these they were just like such impulse things, like, oh, it's so cool that they did this with this Funko. And
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, I kind of being an adult now and having my own money, I definitely indulge into things that I wanted to do as a kid. Way too much maybe sometimes, but I was like I always wanted to have a collection of something, action figure or something of that
yeah,
sort. And when I saw that they make Funko Pops, I like anime a lot, so I was like, oh, well, I'll just collect that.
there we go. Right on, man. Well, I appreciate your time today. I have one more quick question for you before I let you go. And I know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yeah, always. The biggest lesson that I've learned is letting go of your ego, no pun intended, and just being yourself and making music that you like. That is the only thing that's going to carry you through this bumpy ride that this music journey is, because no one will listen at first and it'll be very hard. But if you love the music that you make, and it's a conscious effort to make music that you love, obviously it's going to take you some time to have your skill set match your taste, but it's just that's the main thing. If you really love what you're doing, and if you really are passionate about it, you'll get there.
Bringing it backward.